Welcome to A Legend Talks. Another exciting episode. This episode chronicles the next chapter inside of a legend story titled World Gone Mad. It is a story. Oh, well, first of all, let me introduce Manny. You were doing stuff. I kind of forgot you were there. But thank you for being here, Manny. Another co host, too. A Legend
As
Talks.
always, as always, I am here to get the truth.
Well, we will see what happens inside of this episode because there's a lot to talk about on I would say, more personalized and intense level. This chapter is about the world, shit hitting the fan in the world. We already know that things were getting chaotic with Dominic, but now it's to a point where, you know, uh, chaos is happening all over. Guns are illegal to have unless you are the military. Jesse is trying to still convince John and or his friend Margaret, who works at the diner, to come to the resistance and kind of be, a part of it. And neither of them are down for it. But while talking, Margaret has a vigilante who throws a rock through the window, and she chases after him. She has a gun. She grabs a gun from a secret compartment and chases after him, shooting, which is a huge risk because anybody that's out on the streets running around with a gun out in broad daylight could probably be killed by the military. But she didn't do it. She didn't. Nothing happened to her. I mean, she wanted to protect her job, and she worked there for a very long time. And I don't know if that was significantly talked about inside of this book per se. I know that it has been talked about inside of the series about how she's really been there for a long time, and that's kind of like her home. I mean, we've all had a job that we really love. We've all had a job that we hated, but this was one that she really wanted to just protect that investment. But Jesse notices, like, hey, you have a gun. Where'd you get a gun from? And she kind of tells him. So now he's out like, well, maybe we need guns to protect us, which is kind of just Jesse's mantra. That's his mentality. We should fight back. Samuel, who's the leader of the resistance, has a different idea. He just wants to give safe haven to everybody else. So they kind of hide it. He pulls Stacy in to kind of go help him get some guns. He goes down there to try and acquire guns from a new character named Snake at a drug house from this gangster thug drug dealer named Snake. And they kind of see somebody else in distress. This little girl, teenage girl, that's inside the background of the house that kind of wants help, needs help. So we are at a point where they want to go back. They got to go back to get the guns to pick them up, but they also want to go back and help this girl. And Samuel kind of is privy to hearing that conversation, and he wants to help. But he's against the whole guns concept, but he definitely wants to bring in more people and give people that safe haven that he feels they deserve away from the chaos and corruptness up top. Um, so that's kind of where we're at inside this chapter. This is kind of what happens. There is the new character, like I said, Snake. A lot of things that we can talk about.
From Metal Gear Solid 5, continue.
Well, I can neither hear nor say where I came up with Snake. Yes, I'm a big Metal Gear fan, but I don't know necessarily if that's where I came up with his name. I wanted to give him some dark kind of name like Bone Crusher. Uh,
Lame.
just something scary. I don't know. Just
what
something
is
that
what
wasn't a
is
normal
he?
name like Steve and Bob.
A
Like,
rapper or something?
huh?
You said Bone Crusher. Is he like a rapper?
Takashi 69. Something. I wanted it to be a scary thug name and not like your general name, your street name. I don't know what they call them. I'm not a gangster. What in the fuck is that in your hand?
Are you done? I don't want to interrupt you.
I mean, I'm done, but I'm not done.
Oh,
If
okay.
okay, what do you what? Stop with the
Once this E News starts, once this hat goes
There's
on, just letting you
no
know.
e news. Get that through your head. We are not doing.
What? E News is here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the show where a reporter E checks in for you live from E News.
This is not a segment, everyone. This is not okay. Okay, this is not a real thing. Everybody that you're watching. I mean, he just put on a hat because he's cold. His head's cold. I don't know. I don't know why the hat's there. But this is not a segment. This is
Where
not a
we
real thing.
ask the questions that need to be answered. A world gone mad. Now, the last time we were with our interviewee, Michael Bowie, on this now 8-part
I'm a host.
on this 8-part series we were on. He kind of complained that my first question is always kind of, did you draw this from real life? Yada yada yada.
Usually,
well, I don't care.
Segment. That is usually how it plays out. Yes.
So we don't care. We're gonna ask that again. It leads into very good follow-up questions. That's why we do it. It's just to get you warmed up, you know. So A World Gone Mad. In the book, we see a broken world, really.
Let me one guess. Did I draw this kind of storyline from what goes on in the real world? Is that what you're going to ask me?
Excuse me, sir. You're the interviewee. You don't ask questions.
I'm the goddamn host, okay? This is not a segment. This is not
interview. Anywho. Yeah. So we the people want to know. You know, they see a lot of. I've had a lot of people tell me they see a lot of comparisons in the real world aspect of how broken things are. Maybe in a different way because Dominic has different rules. But did you frame the brokenness of this world from what you perceive as the perspective of the brokenness of our own world?
I'm going to answer the question because I'm answering questions, and that's the point of the show. But not because this is any kind of stupid fucking segment that has anything to do with anything.
Excuse cut me, all this out. Cut it all out. Cut it all out.
We're not cutting shit. This is a live show. This is a live show.
Mute his mic. Mute him so he can't hear. He can't hear
that. It doesn't work like that anymore. Anyway, so yeah, I honestly think that everything in this book is a comparison to everything that goes on in the world. If the message is for people to realize the things that they do wrong and how they can do better, then we have to compare everything that goes on in the real world with them, with other people in general, politics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, for them to kind of compare it to, for them to have a realization that I do this, I can do this differently. So I would say that, yes, A World Gone Mad, I took the world that we live in, which is mad, it's crazy, it's messed up, it's not perfect, the world that we live in, and in this fictitious dystopian world, blew it up times 10 and created so much fucking chaos to compare. People may not realize how much chaos goes on inside of the world. They may live inside of a really nice neighborhood and they just think it's all perfect because they're not surrounded by the crime and happenings. You know, the police show up inside of 2 minutes and said, "What the fuck are you?" Okay, stop writing shit down. Okay,
continue to answer the question.
I'm answering.
I'm a reporter just trying to do my job. Okay,
you don't have a job. Okay, this is not.
I do.
So take off the stupid fucking hat.
Can you please answer the question? Thank you.
It's not chaotic just in the world. It's about to be chaotic inside of this room. So what I'm saying is that, yes, I think that this was a comparison, and I really want people to understand that the world's not perfect, that however blown up it is inside of this book, it's just as how blown up it is, whether people realize it or not, in the everyday happenings of this world. So... Am I bothering you?
I'm writing down your response. I'm just a reporter trying to do my job. The next question we have, since we're talking about, we're just talking about reactions to this broken world, how we react. But let's talk about how the characters react. So you have two different characters who kind of are doing two different things, right? Let's start with John, and then we'll jump over to Jesse. John's response in this world is to kind of start to partake in some of this criminal activity. I believe he tells Jesse, you know, and who said crime doesn't pay, and kind of, you know, adopting what some people might think his morals are from being, you know, a former FBI agent, officer of the law kind of deal, you know. You think he would be trying to be out stopping crime and stuff like that, but no, he's participating in it. Would you say that this is the proper reaction for someone who's officer of the law, who maybe probably got into law enforcement because they want to uphold those morals and laws and rules? Would you say this is a fair kind of comparison in your book as to what someone would do in real life, how they
Yeah,
would react.
yeah. I think it's completely fair because number one is regardless, there are good cops and there are bad cops. Not all the bad cops are out there still doing good things just because they're a cop. The whole thing is that the world has changed. It's evolved, and he's fighting his own battles of grievance from the loss of his family. And whereas Jesse, yes, he's a cop too, he doesn't have the same kind of grievances and you know, trials and tribulations that John has. They are two different people with the same former kind of job, living in a brand new chaotic dystopian world, um, and trying to balance all the things that are happening. You know, as a cop, you may stop a couple of evildoers. Inside of this world, everyone's a fucking evildoer. You have to pick your battles. And I think that um, it's fair to say that because we are all different, him reacting differently to how things are going, regardless on his past job title, is a further proof to how we are different and how things change us. Money changes us, crime changes us, death changes us. All of these things are what makes Jesse and John two different people, regardless of the similarity of their former job.
Let's since you mentioned Jesse, hold on, got to write one thing.
I don't know why the fuck we're writing anything down because there's
Okay,
nothing to write down. This is not okay. Please stop. Okay. Don't click the fucking don't
be
stop.
quiet. You stop
Stop.
talking. I stop clicking. You stop talking. I stop clicking. Yeah. So let's jump right into Jesse's reaction to this world that is kind of just gone crazy now that Dominic Harvey is our president and gets everything. So um, Jesse's reaction is to go out and start helping people, to do the best that he can. He's formed this resistance with Samuel, and he's got all these other people now that he's helped. His reaction is a little bit different. Uh, can you talk about the juxtaposition, I guess, between him and John? I know you said they were different people, but you know they both have traumas. Jesse's lost his wife in a way because of John, um, from his perspective.
Not really. I
Uh,
mean, they already were having their quarrels and fights. Their heated arguments came from a portion of their life where he was just somebody that added to it because she didn't want him and their business to kind of be put out there. The more focus was trying to help them than to heal their relationship. So there was already arguments and everything there. They are two different people living two different lives and experiencing two different kinds of things, and one has to deal with just divorce and the other one has to deal with death. I think
mhm.
you can find another. I mean, I guess if your wife dies, you can remarry and find a new person to marry. But you know, even with divorce, maybe there's always possibility with working it out. You know, and maybe fixing things so that it doesn't become a divorce that's finalized. But with death, it's a one and done. There is no coming back. So I think that they do have a lot of differences in many ways, and they have many similarities. I mean, that's what makes them really good friends. Stop writing shit down, please. If you and take off the stupid hat because none of this.
Okay, moving on to our next
Oh my
question.
god.
Since we were talking about that, talk about let's juxtapose to real life now. The book. I feel like the story kind of sets up two choices in how we all have a different reaction to the things that happen in our world, and a message that the readers could potentially take from it is you have an option to um, choose how you react. One is you can join the fray and go out here and do whatever it takes to survive, or you can choose to help people. Um, no, I'm not saying you lean either way, but uh, do you think that a reader would be on spot if that's a message that they took away? And I know you said they can take whatever they want to take, but kind of give feedback to kind of taking that message away.
Taking which message?
You can either people have to adapt. There are certain people who have to adapt and survive in the world, and there are other people who, regardless of what's happening, they go out and help. And it's not to say that you're wrong for doing either. It's just you have a choice in this world to do something.
Well, I think it's the fact that you said we have a choice, and that goes to pretty much everything, and even overall the overall message of this entire thing. I mean, you can choose to commit crime. You know, you can choose to kill and murder. You can choose to be a good person
Hmm.
or a bad person. The choice lies with us. And the thing is that there's so many different people that choose different things. They choose good. They choose bad. They choose to commit crime, not commit crime. To commit adultery, not commit adultery. To whatever good and bad thing there is, they are making those conscientious choices. Now, this world is a world where a high majority are making the choice out of their own to commit crimes. It doesn't matter, and I know it's said in the book, and maybe later in the book, so I'm kind of probably spoiling to say it now, but Dominic has said, hey, it doesn't matter that I created this world to have crime, that crime is legal. You still choose to go out and commit it. So at the end of the day, don't blame me, blame you. You know, it's just like in the world that we live in now where crime is not legal. People still have the choice to go out and do it. There is consequence. But there is consequences to not following Dominic's rules. I think the two worlds are the same, but the overall message of choice is more impactful because just as easy as it is for that high majority to become crime uh, doers is just as easy as if the high majority of us decide that we are not going to commit crimes, that we are going to be more loving, that we're going to work together, that we're going to do this, and then see what kind of world that creates. Stop. Can you? I don't know if you think that this is like a diary that you're keeping for
Just,
me
just,
about
just
everything.
writing down your responses. That's
I
all.
don't need you to.
So
It's a live
turning
show.
to
But
another, let's change the gears here a little bit. So a lot of books in comparing this book, we kind of spotlight one character here, one protagonist, right? And we kind of follow them through their story. Kite Runner. We're talking about Uncle Tom's Cabin. We got there's a specific person whose story we're following. So far in a legend story, the farther we are in this 8-part series of a legend talks, because we're not fully through the book, but you get the sense that John is supposed to be the protagonist of this, but not every chapter focuses on him. Um, in fact, I think we haven't focused a lot on John in a while. We're focusing on different people. This time it's Jesse. Uh, this time it's other people. Was that a conscious choice to kind of do something unique there, where you know we're not following the protagonist, we're just building stories with these different characters, or is there a set protagonist?
no, I think in two parts is that number one is that it was done on purpose. That I feel like to follow one character and all the people that one character comes across, just to have that one antagonist and maybe the one protagonist, it doesn't do justice to telling a story that captivates you and brings you into several different characters. You can always have that one person come across different people,
Mhm.
but do you really know much about those people? Each chapter is kind of like the movie Vantage Point, which is one of my favorite movies, where they kind of tell the story from different people's vantage points. Allows you to kind of know their story, what they went through, and connects the story in general. And so I kind of took and adopted that concept with this one, where you're kind of all over the place. You have a chapter about Dominic, you have a chapter about Jesse, you have a chapter about John, and so forth and so on, and you bring all of their stories together. No pun intended, a legend story, and you connect it to its end goal, its end message. And so I think that number one is one answer. But the second part to your the question is that I don't think that it needs to have one protagonist and one antagonist. In my opinion, I think there are several antagonists and protagonists inside of this story, and that is a good thing because I think everybody has a uniqueness and a
Mhm.
value and a purpose to the overall telling of this story. I mean, yes, the whole thing you can say is centered around John and Dominic, but when you learn about all the different happenings, like the resistance and the people that come across that era of things, and even when you get into some of the other chapters and other stories, I mean, you'll see certain
Give me
characters
one.
get their
My
own
my, my
chapter.
editor is calling. Give me 1 second.
Your editor.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have an
Yeah.
editor
Yeah. Okay.
because you don't have a segment, and you don't have a segment because it doesn't fucking exist. Anyway, but I feel like yeah, we need to have multiple ones. I don't think Dominic is the only one. You got Drake, Jarvis, you got Snake, you got so many other people that
Metal Gear Solid 5.
huh.
Nothing.
Um, I don't know if this person I know that we didn't really talk about him, but I know that he was mentioned, but we didn't talk about him inside of a Legend Talks, and that's Walt Michaels. He was briefly brought up.
Senator Walt Michaels.
Huh?
Say it with respect.
Senator
Senator
Walt
Walt
Michaels,
Michaels. Yeah, say it with respect.
who was around whenever Dominic was running. And so if we did talk about him, I mean, he also plays, a villainous kind of role in some aspect, whether inside of that portion of the book or in general inside the series. He's an important bystander or antagonist.
Yeah. So, that's all we have here for E News. We want to
No
thank
E-News.
you again. No, we want to thank you again.
No, but there's no E News. It's not.
You
It's not
want
a real
to
thing. There's no logo, and we're back to clicking the fucking pen. Okay.
you
All right.
stop talking, I
Childish.
stop clicking.
Because
You
we're
stop
childish.
talking,
That's
I
what.
stop clicking.
Well, we can click
You
away,
stop
but I'm going to
talking,
talk
I
away
stop
until.
clicking.
So you feel like clicking it faster is going to mean anything to me? And now you're are you stroking off the pen? Okay, because that's what I kind of noticed at point. Okay, that's okay. Now we're going to reverse it. I don't know if you've ever tried that, fellas, but that can be kind of painful. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, are you done?
Are you done talking?
I'm done.
Zip it.
You zip it.
Zip.
Zip.
That's all we have here for E News. Once again, I am your gracious reporter on duty, Reporter E, coming in live from a Legend Talks. Check in next time, guys. I'm sure. Submit your questions to, if you want E News to ask anything, submit your questions down in the comment box. So thank you, guys.
So let me, first of all, because it's not a real thing, let me jump into my questions for you. Okay. Number one, new character, Snake. What are your thoughts on Snake?
For Metal Gear Solid 5. Snake from Metal Gear Solid was cool. Yeah, I mean, it's another person just out here. I mean, again, somebody that is adapting to survive, I feel like, in a way, but maybe he was like that before all of this. I don't know. I mean, he's a guy they're going to get guns from. I don't know that I have an opinion on him. I feel like he's another person.
More about him from an overall perspective of the entire series, but first impressions, should I say? First impressions, when you come across him.
It's just a character to me. I mean, just
thoughts about him.
Just another bug like Dominic that needs to be squashed. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
So.
Looking at the whole concept about, and I know that this is a very leery concept to kind of talk about because you have a lot of political people who have viewpoints on guns. Oh, you can't take away my guns and my shaking right amendments, my whatever. Okay, we get it, and so they feel like this is not possible for this to happen, for guns to be taken away. What are your thoughts, standpoint, maybe on guns and the effects that they have towards, the murder and crime inside of America and or this book? And do you think that them being taken away or not taken away would be a good thing or bad thing towards the world we live in now, which is in comparison to this book? Like, would realistically this salvage anything, help or hinder?
Well, as far as guns go, talking about the book first, obviously it didn't stop anything because people are still choosing to commit crime. They're still getting it done, regardless to whether guns are legal or not. They're still doing it. So, it didn't stop anybody from doing anything. And I think that was kind of Dominic's point. Guns are a tool, and he wants to take the most powerful tool out of the way, but if you take a tool out of the way, people will just adapt and find another way to do it. So that's that. As far as in real life goes, I don't really have a position, I want to say. I see both sides. Do I own a gun? No, I do not. But I see both sides of gun ownership. The one side being, I guess, what we would call the right wing side, which is guns don't kill people. You can put a gun on the table and tell it to kill, and it won't shoot anybody. You need a human to apply that 5 pounds of pressure. But in the same point, it's like, oh, we're having all these tragic events. You don't need assault rifles and different things like that. Like, you don't need all those guns to protect you. You know, these things don't need to be out here in people's hands, people who have mental illnesses hands, yada yada yada. So I mean, here's the thing though, like any other restriction that we put on a lot of things, we restrict stuff and people will still find a way to do it and break the law. They don't care. I feel like we have a more rule, we put down rules to kind of guide us and hope that we're making the world a better place by doing so. um, but that's not necessarily how it works all the time. So, and you know, to compare Dominic's world to the real world, it's like, you know, he was able to remove guns off of out of his, you know, out of his world very easily. I don't think it would be that easy to do in real life because of corporate interests, because of how much money is involved in the gun industry and the gun lobbies and different things like that. I mean, there's just so many different, how complex our politics is versus, you know, how different it would have it is in his world. And I feel like, you know, his power level as a president is a little bit different than the power level of our regular president currently. So to kind of compare those two things. So yeah, I see guns being taken away. It's a slippery slope, but we got to see what happens. But I see both sides of the argument. I don't personally own a gun. I know people who own guns, and that doesn't bother me. Legally own guns, that doesn't bother me. I feel like that is kind of like, it's touchy, and I don't know exactly where I fall on it. Do I think taking guns away would make the world better? I don't necessarily think so. I feel like people would find a way to do whatever it is they want to do anyway. I mean, we did it before, right? I mean, before we had guns and before we had gunpowder, they were out there killing each other with swords. Before that, you know, Cain was out here beating his brother with a rock. So,
Well,
like,
well,
human, if somebody wants to kill or do some serious damage to someone, they will find a way.
I think that I don't have some type of political party side opinion because that's what it is. If you're of a certain political party, then you have those viewpoints. And whereas I may lean to a certain one, it doesn't affect my opinions. I understand and hear what people say. You know, the gun's sitting there, it takes the person picking up and using it. Blah, 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 blah. However, if you took out the gun and it shot water, it does zero damage. Okay?
Mhm.
If the gun's not there, the person can't pick it up. Regardless of if they'll find something else. If it's not there, if a gun is not there, it can do zero damage.
Right.
So that's the same thing with people. If all the people in the world died and were no more, then no more people can hurt other people because we're all gone. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you take away the gun or the person. Um, it will, one or the other will eliminate people from dying from guns. Now, it won't
Right.
eliminate people dying from other things, hands, knives, swords,
Yeah.
rocks.
You can get these hands.
But um, at the end of the day, is that also just becomes a self realization as good people. And I
Mhm.
understand guns being a service towards hobbies, hunting, etc.
Mhm.
Not just protection. And I have a gun, and I'm getting another like a handgun, and so to me, it's to have. I don't want to have someone show up at my house with a gun to try and rob me, and I only have a rock or a pair of scissors in my hand to protect them. I mean,
What's wrong, Kane? You can't get the job done?
does this look like those who wish me dead, and it's a gun
Those
made
who
out of
wish me bored.
pickaxe? It's not realistic. So I rather have it than to not have it, and know how to use it, uh, than to not have to use it. And I rather never ever have to use it. But that becomes based on all people. Those that go out and use it to hunt. There's so many other ways you can go hunt. You can do the bow and arrow kind of thing. I'm sure there's other ways besides guns, and it's not. I guess hunting is. I'm not a hunter, so I wouldn't know per se, and I don't want to take away that hobby. That's like for me, who loves to do pickleball. if somebody was like, "Oh, you're hurting too many people out here with that paddle. We're gonna get rid of pickleball and take away everyone's paddle." I'd be pissed. No, you're not taking my paddle. I love playing it.
Oh,
Uh,
you like to get paddled, huh?
shut the fuck up. But like I said, I too can see it from two different perspectives, and but I do also agree
Okay,
that
myself.
it's almost like a punishment. If you don't know how to use it, take it away. You're in timeout. But like I said, I also see
Do
it from
you
the
know how to use
what? What? You
it?
just
Do you know how to use your paddle?
you just mumble shit and then start laughing.
do you
That's
do
what.
you know how to use your paddle?
I'm gonna use it to backhand the fuck out of you. How about that? You and that stupid fedora, whatever the hell. But that's just kind of my insight on everything. Um, quick question: where do you see the book? Where did you? I mean, it's hard for me to kind of ask this question because you've already read the entire thing, and you just went black screen. So I don't even know if I can continue to ask a question because I don't know if you're going to come back or if it's just going to be me inside of this segment. So because we are live, I'm going to continue the segment as is and say that I think that everybody should read it and check it out. There are so many good points that are made to be had and evaluated here, and that it all starts with us making good, logical decisions in hopes to create some type of change. And that's really all that matters. I see that you're back, so you can hear me. I can't hear you, so I'm going to continue talking until I actually can hear you. But I do think that the book in general has so many different messages and everything that are important to its reader and things that you can take away in general to make change. And where guns may not be the end all of it all, it is definitely something that, like I said, if it's not there, you can't do anything. If it shoots pellets that can't hurt anybody or water, it can't do any damage. So guns are a problem if you make them to be a problem, but we are also the problem that make guns a problem, if that makes sense. I do feel like I hear some sound. You still can hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can. So moving into I was going to say the final question I was going to kind of ask you was, I know that you've already read it, so it's hard to kind of debate, but I was going to ask you where you see this story going, where you saw this story going when you got to this point. Where did you hope for this story to be going when you got to this point?
I'm still having issues. I apologize,
Okay, it's
everybody.
fine. No, we'll just go ahead and end it because I think that we've covered everything that we really needed to cover, that we've talked about all the things that we needed to talk about. You got your stupid fucking segment in. I was able to ask some questions where you were able to answer them. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. And if you are not able to say your part at the end, I will say it for you, but I will go
Oh,
ahead
I'm
and
here.
tell
I'm here.
everybody, please don't
Technical
forget to
issues gone. Technical issues gone. Technical issues be gone.
Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell, tie a little note to a pigeon's leg, send it on its way. Maybe put a message inside of a bottle. And what is this, Randy Orton, or what do you? Okay, is this a bow and arrow? I don't know. But thank you guys all for tuning in. As always, I am the legendary Michael Bowie,
And I'm the legendary Emmanuel Pierce.
and this has been a Legend
Legend
Talks.
Talks.